measures outside the EU. So instead of reducing emissions at home, member countries could pay emission reductions elsewhere. But what IPCC is really saying that this emission reduction range 25 to 40%, that means domestic emission reductions inside the industrialized countries. So that doesn't include any offsetting. And I think that this is not fully understood yet by many governments of the EU member countries. Anyway, I'm happy for the fact that the Parliament Environment Committee practically unanimously demanded that the member countries start now planning also for all the measures which are needed to meet this more ambitious 30% target. And what comes to the chances to adopt even more ambitious targets, which I agree fully that it would be justified from the point of view what the scientists are telling us to do. I think that, well, this very much depends on the international development. And of course today, when we have woken up to the world where we know that Barack Obama will be the next US president, and we know that he has promised to lead a climate policy which leads to 80% emission reductions in USA by 2050, and to full auctioning of emission rights to the industry, which means fairly ambitious climate policy. Maybe that opens up possibilities in the international arena to be more ambitious than we have imagined so far. But one point I would like to add, it's not only about housing, it's also about transport and agriculture and waste policy. And well, it's very, very important that all member countries honestly start transport planning and also land use planning, which leads to less oil-dependent way of life, and better collective transport, better biking lanes and other measures which mean that people are less dependent on private cars.
In fact, we have been more ambitious in the Parliament than even the Commission, but tomorrow we will start the trialogue negotiations. I'm not an optimist, and there are a lot of things that might cause that it's not easy to be an optimist. Also, the oil prices are going down. That may be good, but it's probably not good for the climate, because the push for the governments to really make new steps in the transport sector may not be as good as if the oil prices would stay on the high level. So in many ways, I'm not really an optimist. So, but I think we have tried to be optimistic, and I would just say one thing, that I've talked to so many NGOs who said, well, 30% is not enough, 40% is not enough. They cannot get a high percentage enough. Try to be a little bit cautious about that, because if you are too ambitious talking to people, I think that the public, and we want the public to be part of this, might say, well, if what the Green Organization says that we have to do much more, then we do not want to do anything. So what I hope for these negotiations during the next 2 months, well, just during only 1 month, is that we have a climate package in Europe, so we can step forward, probably together, as Hassi said, with Obama from the United States.
Okay, thank you. Maybe picking on the last point, that Europe is not alone in the world, and the policy, European policymakers decide on, also depends on events happening in the world. And during the negotiations in Parliament, and also when heads of state and government were meeting, we had the financial crisis happening, something that more or less came out of the blue. The question we received was, it's a double question from the UK and from Germany. How has this financial crisis influenced the political debate in the Parliament? And is the Parliament looking into opportunities with regard to the financial crisis, such as job losses that can be avoided through investment in decarbonizing our industry?
Well, I will say that the discussion about the financial crisis, we were almost finished with the directives. But of course, we participated in that discussion. And what I've heard from my fellow members here is that you should not let the financial crisis let the climate down, and that's very important. But of course it would have some influence on the discussion, because if people are beginning to lose their jobs and somebody can persuade them that it's because of the fight against the climate change, then we have a problem. I quite agree that there is a lot of possibilities in the green sector with new jobs and creating new jobs, and we know that in the countries who are in front runners in that field, that there are a lot of possibilities there. But it might be difficult to persuade people to understand that during a crisis. But let's see if it would.
I think it's a very serious point, because we discuss with our people at home in the constituencies, we discuss with industry, so we need to have an answer. And I think, of course, the financial crisis is an argument not to do things that are more expensive than they should be. That's why I'm personally in favor of having not so much auctioning in the emission trading as it was proposed by the European Commission. But on the other hand, we shouldn't see the financial crisis as an opportunity to escape our responsibility. The crisis of climate change will be much bigger than the financial crisis if we don't act. So we need to choose the efficient way, but we shouldn't avoid our responsibility. And what also is very important, some want to postpone the process because they don't like the climate and energy package. But if we postpone it, the main problem of the financial crisis is that there is no security, no investment, because people don't know what will be the market next year. If we postpone all our decisions, then the insecurity stays. So it means we need to have a quick adoption of the package. Then the markets know where to invest. It must be cost efficient, and I don't want to praise my government too much. They do a lot of mistakes. But in this case, one of the reactions from the German government on the financial crisis is to even increase the financial support for energy efficient housing. So it creates jobs, it gives an incentive for the labor market, and at the same time it helps the climate. And we should choose this kind of solutions for the problem.
Yeah, well, I fully agree that climate policy is a way to create jobs. There have been studies saying that, for example, in renewable energy we can get around 2 million new jobs, maybe 500,000 in renovating the houses, and another 500,000 in the energy efficient technology. So this is an opportunity to create new jobs, not destroy jobs. And I would like to compare the figures. The Commission estimate about the price of the climate package is 70 billion euros per year, which is a lot. But the EU member countries so far have committed to banking support for the banking sector for around 1,500 million euros. So that's more than the price of the climate package until 2020. So I think that these very rapid decisions by the prime ministers and others when the financial crisis was a reality showed that when there is a political will, when the leaders understand that it's really necessary to prevent a catastrophe in our societies, to take rapid, even costly measures, when this is understood, then this is done. And well, the figures which we are now discussing